Good morning, viewers. You are watching Defense Communique. Jeffery Sachs, a prominent U.S. economist, cautioned in a recent interview that the United States is likely to target India's rise as a global economic power, drawing parallels to its historical actions against Russia and China. In an interview with Tucker Carlson, Sachs argued that the U.S. response to emerging global powers is primarily motivated by the desire to maintain economic and geopolitical hegemony. Sachs remarked that someday when India succeeds, the U.S. would want to weaken India. Sachs explained that the U.S. has consistently sought to undermine any nation that develops the capacity to challenge its global dominance. Sachs, a longtime critic of U.S. foreign policy, argued that Washington's strategic impulse is to undercut any country that grows large enough to challenge its global dominance. That was the stark warning delivered by U.S. economist Jeffery Sachs in a wide-ranging interview with Tucker Carlson, where both agreed that America's challenge to rising powers is not about ideology, but about hegemony. Someday when India succeeds, the U.S. would want to weaken India, Sachs said. Carlson replied without hesitation, probably sooner rather than later. He pointed out that the geopolitical rivalry with Russia and the ongoing confrontation with China are driven not by ideological opposition, but by strategic concerns over global power dynamics. Russia is big, Russia is powerful, and for that reason alone, the U.S. would oppose Russia, just like it opposes China. He warned that India, which is rapidly ascending the global economic ladder, could face similar strategic resistance from the U.S. in the coming decades. Sachs also projected that India would likely surpass the U.S. to become the world's second largest economy within the next 10 to 15 years, and could potentially overtake China for the top spot by mid-century, further intensifying the geopolitical competition. While he praises India's rise, calling its economic takeoff remarkable, Sachs urges it to resist becoming a pawn in America's geopolitical rivalry with China. The U.S. wants to use India to beat up China, he warned. While acknowledging India's significant economic achievements, Sachs expressed concern over its growing involvement in U.S.-led multilateral frameworks, particularly the Quad Alliance, which includes the U.S., Japan, India, and Australia. Sachs criticized such alliances as primarily serving American geopolitical interests, which could limit India's strategic autonomy in the long run. The U.S. wants to use India to counter China, Sachs argued. Don't play the American game. India is too big for a U.S. game. He emphasized the importance of India maintaining a policy of strategic autonomy, ensuring balanced relations with all global powers, including China and Russia, without aligning too closely with any one faction. Sachs further cautioned India about the risks of over-relying on U.S. support, referencing Washington's historical tendency to abandon allies when it is no longer convenient. Friendship with the U.S. can be dangerous, highlighting the potential consequences of India becoming too enmeshed in the geopolitical strategies of the U.S. and its allies. The U.S. has been exerting pressure on India to distance itself from Russia in the wake of the Ukraine war. Washington also wants Delhi to reduce its military dependence on Moscow and instead buy American military equipment. Despite Washington's concerns, Delhi has reaffirmed its commitment to not only continue close contacts, but also deepen and expand cooperation with Moscow. Earlier this month, U.S. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, while speaking at the 8th edition of the U.S.-India Strategic Partnership Forum Leadership Summit, said that India's purchase of military equipment from Russia and its alignment with BRICS, which advocates reducing dependence on the U.S. dollar, have rubbed the United States the wrong way. The Indian economy is extraordinary, your human capital capacity is amazing, your growth rate is amazing. But there were certain things that the Indian government did that generally rubbed the United States the wrong way, the Commerce Secretary said. For instance, you generally buy your military gear from Russia. That's a way to kind of get under the skin of America, if you go to buy your armaments from Russia. So I think India is starting to move towards buying military equipment from the United States, which then goes a long way, U.S. Secretary added. Thanks for watching Defense Communique.